and only Cleveland Browns. Guys, because right now, the biggest question in the locker room in Cleveland is not about their defense. It isn't about the running game. It's about who should be starting quarterback moving forward. Guys, the Cleveland Browns are sitting right now at 1-3. Joe Flacco is 40 years old. And once again, on Sunday, the Browns offense was, how do we put this lightly? Ugly. They sucked. They're terrible. They're terrible. 34-10 loss to the Detroit Lions, and Joe Flacco coughed up the ball 3 times. That brings his turnover total to 8 giveaways in just 4 games. Guys, this isn't a one-off bad performance. It has been a theme for a very, very long time. And as a result, the Browns sit at the NFL's second lowest scoring offense, just averaging 14 points per game. You cannot win football games in that way in today's NFL. Let's just be honest about it. Now, Kevin Stefanski said, hey, y'all need to slow it down, baby. He's doing what head coaches do. He won't throw his quarterback under the bus. He said, it's not just Joe Flacco. It's the drops. It's the protection. It's the coaching. It's everything but Joe Flacco. And honestly, he's not wrong. Against the Detroit Lions, Jerry Jeudy and Fanningham both had drops, back-to-back deep shots that could have flipped the momentum. Later, Raymond takes a 65-yard punt to the house, and it's game over. Through 4 games, Cleveland has 8 drops. 8. That's second most in the NFL. That is tough. And then there's the offensive line. This group has been passed together week after week after week, more than the Green Bay Packers. 4 different line combos in 4 games. Jones, done for the year. Conklin, still out. The backups, KT Livingston and Cornelius Lucas, are all ranked near the bottom of pass protection. And Aiden Hutchinson feasted on them all last Sunday. So yes, Kevin Stefanski is a little bit right. It's just not Joe Flacco, but here's the deal. Quarterbacks matter the most. Quarterbacks bring that momentum to the team. The quarterback can change the trajectory of every team moving forward. Joe Flacco isn't elevating anybody around him. He's not creating plays when protection breaks down. He's not putting receivers in position to succeed when confidence is already shaky from drops. That's the difference between surviving and winning. So then the question starts to become, do you ride with the veteran quarterback knowing exactly what he is at his age, over the hill, overbred, and dry behind the ears, or do you turn to a rookie like Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? Guys, Dylan Gabriel has been holding the clipboard through the first 4 games, and he brings something different. Mobility, energy, and the unknown factor that can spark that offense. Look at Jackson Dart last week with the New York Giants. Sure, the rookie is going to make mistakes, but the Browns are already making plenty of those with Joe Flacco at the helm. At least with Dylan Gabriel, your defense gives something new to think about. So, guys, the question is it time to make a move? Is it time for the Cleveland Browns to move on from Joe Flacco? You do not bench Joe Flacco just because of the age. You bench him because the offense needs a jolt. He's not proving he is not providing you anything. Basically, Joe Flacco sucks right now. At the end of the day, he's 40. He's over the hill. There was no team out there that wanted him for a reason. Dylan Gabriel may not be your long-term answer, but right now he's the best chance the Bears have to get the offense unstuck. But what do you guys think? Should the Browns stick with Joe Flacco, or is it time to give Dylan Gabriel or even Shedeur Sanders a shot? Guys, subscribe, hit the like button. Remember, we're live Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. East Coast time right here at youtube.com/MenHour. I would say TikTok, but we got banned from there again. Whatever. It is what it is. Now, this is a live, interactive show, so let's get down in the comments and let's discuss your thoughts. So first things first is, James says Baker Magic isn't over. Slow it down, baby. We're going to talk about a little bit of factor crap, James, so stay tuned. Shay said, dang, 1 win is from my Packers. That hurts. That is facts. The Green Bay Packers looked over the Cleveland Browns. But the Green Bay Packers are not good enough to be looking to pass Indy Butty, baby. But hey, it is what it is. Hello, Electro Restoration says, hello, I'm sorry I couldn't make it for week 4 of the Packers and Cowboys, but I don't know what to say about the Cowboys game. Listen, man, ties are terrible. Ties are terrible. But welcome back, Electro Restorations. Glad you're here. James Frank says, start Gabriel now, damn it. My Flacco fever has been totally extinguished. Not that I expected him to beat the Lions, but man, Flacco is bad. Still love him for the 23 season, but take your seat, Joe Flacco. James Frank, you are absolutely correct. There are many people out there, Kevin Stefanski and John Harbaugh, are living off of what things used to be. I throw Harbaugh out there because he thinks the Ravens defense is still 2000 elite defense, right? Kevin is thinking that Joe Flacco is prime 2013 Joe Flacco right now. It's just not it. Guys, yes, Joe Flacco had a great little run. What was it? 2-3 years ago now, when he came in and he rallied the Cleveland Browns, made it to the playoffs, right? But then they got absolutely destroyed in the playoffs. But you know what? They made it. Things were clicking, right? But then guess what? He went on to another team because he thought he could be a starter somewhere. Insert Indianapolis Colts. He got benched not once, not twice, but 3 times for Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. And he's like, oh, well, I think I can do well. I think I can do well somewhere. Insert Cleveland. He's 40 years old. He was retired 3 years ago, sitting on the couch, eating Cheetos off of his belly. And now you guys expect him to be great? James, weren't you the one that say flack around and find out? All offseason, flack around, find out. Flack around. Come on, baby. You're better than that. Start Dylan Gabriel or hell, even Shedeur Sanders right now. Hell, right now, go out there and go get Trey Lance. I don't care. Anybody but Joe Flacco. Have a quarterback competition. Dylan Gabriel, you get weeks 4 through 8. Shedeur Sanders, you get 8 through 12. After that, we'll see what happens. Mellow Mike says the Cleveland Browns, yes, the skid marks in the briefs. Not enough bleach to get the stains out of them drawers. That's 4 decades of stench. That is tough. That is tough. Mellow Mike, you want to know the quickest way to get underneath James Frank's skin? Just reference Baker Mayfield as a Cleveland Brown a couple years ago. That is all you got to do. Once you do that, bada bing, bada boom, James might go to bed and like cry. He is going to go to bed and cry like, oh, I miss Baker Mayfield. James Frank says the only bright spot on that offense is Judkins. Yeah. That is tough. The rushing game, I mean, the running game isn't terrible, but when you don't have a quarterback, it makes it look square. It's just, yeah. But yeah, Judkins is the only thing that's doing well. But Mike says Flacco is the first quarterback to throw a TD in a game while using a walker. That is tough. My man Carson Lang's in the chat. Mr. Second place of this week's NFL Pick'ems. Congratulations, Carson. He says quarterbacks can't elevate when they keep getting put on their backs. Put a quarterback in when your O-line is blank. You run the risk of ruining your young quarterbacks. So, Carson Lang, let me ask you this. Do you risk losing this whole season by playing Joe Flacco? Do you risk not knowing who your quarterback is going forward by playing Joe Flacco? Because let's just be honest. I was looking at the PFF stats for a team to make the playoffs this season. Guess what? The Browns have a 15% chance of making the playoffs. They have less than a 1% chance of winning the division. They have a less than 1% chance of winning a playoff game. So they're writing on the wall. They're not making a deep run. They're not even going to make the postseason. Hell, they'll be lucky to get 5 wins at this rate, like I told you guys back in June. So why not see what you have in Dylan Gabriel? Why not see what you have in old Shedeur Sanders? Why not do that stuff? Because James, you know this, right? You are a Browns fan. You watch the Browns play each and every week deep and methodically. Joe Flacco is not it. Get somebody else in there. DeMello Mike says Deshaun is ready. His massage parlor coupons have expired and he's ready to stink it up once again. I would not sleep on Deshaun Watson. Mellow Mike, you are a Texans fan. You see Deshaun Watson at his peak. Deshaun Watson just needs a change of scenery. He needs to go to Miami. He needs to go to potentially Carolina, maybe back to Houston because CJ Stroud's not him. Let's just be honest, right? But the Deshaun should be ready. I don't know. It is what it is. Old Member says, move on. Flacco to the bottom. Try some youth. Let me ask you this, though, Old Man River. You as a older person. You are wise among your ears. You are here to give us some wisdom and guidance through all this tough turbulence and tides of tears. If you bench Joe Flacco, do you got to cut him? That is the question. If you bench Joe Flacco, do you got to cut him? Because I feel like if you bench him, you have to move him down to third string emergency type of quarterback, practice squad quarterback. Is he going to do that? That's the question. Alpha Rob says, give Gabriel a shot. What do the Browns have to lose? Just 13 more games. Electro Registration says, give the new guy a shot. I think we agree. Montana's in the chat today. What's up, Montana? He says, throw Gabriel in there. What's the worst that could happen? Shedeur Sanders shines. That's the worst thing that could happen. Like, what would be worse? So let's take this double-edged sword and slice it down the middle. You are cutting Joe Flacco off. You say, Joe Flacco, you are not the guy. First quarter of the season, you got us through that hard part of the season, whatever, yada, yada, yada. We played the Ravens. We played the Packers. We played the Lions. Let's move on. Let's move on. So then insert Dillon Gabriel. Let's say he is just not it. He's just as bad. Insert Shedeur Sanders. He all of a sudden starts playing well. What happens if the Cleveland front office all of a sudden sees Dillon Gabriel sucking and Shedeur Sanders being successful? Because wasn't it the general manager that said I was pressured into getting Shedeur Sanders? It was pressure. I don't want him here. Like, well, what happens if he starts to succeed and do well? Or do you just think that will never happen? Because Will Olsen said, you need to start Shedeur Sanders, Buck. They all need to start Shedeur Sanders. And listen, I honestly thought Shedeur Sanders was going to win the preseason battle, to be honest. I thought he was going to go out there and win the preseason battle because he was getting a lot of the reps. But I guess in preseason, when you get a lot of the reps, there's a reason, because you're not very good. I don't know. Mellow Mike says the Browns are worried about public pressure now. Pay the damn rookies and find out what you got. Play the damn rookies. I agree. Shay's like, bright spot for Junkins? One more felony away from being a bright spot. From the pen, he says. Ugh. Didn't that felony get dropped? I don't know. I don't follow felony cases unless they're Javavion Clownies, right? No, who is that Panthers Hardy? That no, that's not him. It was the it's the Seattle Seahawks offensive lineman that strangled his girlfriend or wife, like unconscious. That's who need to. That's who the Browns need. Mellow Mike says the Browns going to trade for Russell Wilson because they don't have enough bad quarterbacks. That is tough. However, I do hear through the rumor mills over there on the old X machine, right? That Russell Wilson will be on, quote, trade bait going forward. So the Giants want to move on from Russell Wilson. Who in their right mind would keep him? I just don't know. Shay, found not guilty, so not worried about it. Yeah, he was definitely not found not guilty or no charge wasn't placed or whatever, right? Carson Slade says this season's already done for them. Get your old offensive line in order first. Offensive line is very, very key. Right, Green Bay Packers fans? If you don't have a good offensive line, you get beat by the Cleveland Browns. If you don't have a good offensive line, you get 40-burgered by the Dallas Cowboys. You guys should have lost that game. Up 13-0, blocked PAT, taken to the house, 3-point swing, bada bing, bada boom. You should have lost that game. Let's just be honest. Packers are terrible. Shay says, agreed. Russ will be a Brown or a Bengal by the end of the season. I'm going to take it one step further. He's going to be a New Orleans Saints. Because the Browns are quarterback hell, yes. The Bengals is where you go to get hurt. But the Saints is where you play halfway decent, but still get beat game after game after game. The Saints is where Russell Wilson might have a little bit of spark and say, I can play another couple years because I'm with the Saints. And then you just get shut down. Because the Saints are arguably the worst football team in the NFL. Mellow Mike says, Cleveland is dyslexic and in a physical form. Everything is backwards and reversed. That is true. That is true. Deshaun that we saw in 2019 is still the South Beach massage parlor with Robert Kraft. Hey, Deshaun down to Miami makes me like us a lot of sense. So don't get it twisted. Alpha Rob says Sanders couldn't play good enough versus guys who are not in the league anymore. And he thinks he can play versus starting defense. He also wasn't playing with starters on the offense either. So give him that credit, right? Give him that credit. Give him that credit. Mellow Mike says committing to Shedeur Sanders while still married to Watson's contract. Of course they will. It's the Browns thing to do. Electro says, as a Cowboys fan, I expected to lose that game versus the Green Bay Packers. I got very confused after they blocked PAT. That is true. It was a good game, though. Very, very good game. But guys, who do you think? Who do you think the starter should be in Cleveland moving forward? Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur Sanders? We'll see. Moving on.